So welcome to our viewer who are watching us live now. Let me remind them that they can subscribe to our channel, the media, and they can also like our video and they can share it at various platforms. We are going live at YouTube and at Facebook. I'm joined by parliamentarians Thomas Heilmann, who has joined us from Berlin. A very warm welcome, parliamentarian, Mr. MP Thomas Heilmann.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Mr. Heilmann, I would like to ask you very first question that you have given quite exhaustive proposals, more than 100 proposals that why state and politics must change. Why?
The book started as a very German project and saying that the German public sector became very slow in achieving its goals. It took more than 30 years to build an airport, and the internet connection in trains doesn't work, and so on. And then we started a real project to analyze why is it like this, and we found many reasons. And it's not one reason; it's a combination of many reasons. And then we brought a book and said, okay, how could we change it? How could we do it better? And out of that, there's a book which addresses, in the first place, German issues. And then the book has been attended a lot of reactions, positive reactions, and including those from abroad, including those from India and other Asian states.
Okay.
Because we found out that there are similar problems, which are not only occurs in Germany, and therefore we now start an exchange project saying, listen, let's talk to other parliamentarian and political people, what kind of problems they have, what's in parallel, where we can learn from each other, and that's what we're doing.
So may I ask you, why do you want to redesign and remake the state, the constitutional state?
This I haven't understood. Could you repeat the question? Why?
You have actually given many proposals in your book. More than 100 proposals. So it seems that you want to re-engineer the present constitutional state into a more modern and digitally able and citizen-friendly state. So why do you want to redesign and remake the constitutional state? Or where is it failing and becoming dysfunctional? What is your opinion?
Now, we do not want to change the constitution, the German constitution. Our assumption was that we do not change the constitution. It takes very long.
No, I'm saying that constitutional state. We are discussing constitutional state.
Yeah, what we propose is to change the way we work together. That needs to be changed. All the instruments we do have in working together with the different elements in a federal state are origin in a time where no digital tools did exist, where no internet did exist. So it is not a co-working, it's not agile at all. And we would like to change that, to become quicker, to become more efficient, to be able to handle all the huge amounts of data, etc., etc. Therefore, we need to change the way we work. But we do not. We will keep being a federal state, and we do not want to change our constitution.
And what are your thoughts on parliament or constitutional state? As you have given many suggestions and quite exhaustive suggestions as a. What are your proposal to reimagine the politics and the role of parliament in your proposed new state? Can you share your thoughts?
Yeah, the legal situation of a parliament we do not want to change, but what we'd like to change is something like that. The way we write law needs to be updated. Let's say it that way. The results in terms of concrete laws are too complex, too unclear, and causes a lot of problem. And therefore, we need to better our results in terms of not what do we change in the parliament in general, but what kind of something like how we could improve the results we're working on. And that needs a discussion, and the discussion is pretty vibrant in Germany.
And how can we make our state more citizen friendly, more accountable to the public, and more efficient? Can you share some of the good practices from around the world?
Yeah, I mean, to my mind, the most important sector we need to change is the culture of the people. People in the public sector, working in the public sector, their culture, how they're going to work is absolutely essential. And it starts how we select people, how we promote people, how we educate people. Do we educate them doing their work? So, I mean, things have changed. And if you have studied something and 20 years later, not everything does work the same way it has been working. And therefore, there's a constant need of lifelong learning, even in the public sector, and how we're going to organize that. And that's something like the absolute key. There are more factors to be worked on, but the key factor is the people and the culture of the people.
And if we talk about bureaucracy, um, many would say that it can be one of the hindrances uh, in basically in most of the state is bureaucracy, because it has its vested interest, and they like to oppose change like politician does. So I mean, changing the system, as far as changing the system is concerned, bureaucracy often, they oppose changes as politicians do, because they have some vested interests. So, how can we make the bureaucracy more open to change, efficient, and accountable?
Number one, to fight against bureaucracy is a constant job, which every administration has to do all the time, because it is like keeping your body in a fit. You never can stop doing exercises with your body, and so is it with bureaucracy and administrations. This is number one. Number two is the reason why bureaucracy has expanded so much is that the complexity of the issues have increased dramatically. Whatever, 30 years ago, no one has ever talked about what kind of carbon emission a specific project would have or not have. This and the impact of nature, of climate, of protection our environment, which is only one example. At the same time, we have a demographic issue. We have a rising number of people who need nutrition and water, and so on and so on and so on. Traffic has become more complex, and this complexity, and the things an administration has to handle is more complex than in earlier years, and that's the reason why bureaucracy expanded, and we only can answer it with digitalization, because we cannot go back to this more simple situation we had before, let's say 30 or 50 years ago. And so the answer to complexity is digitalization, and therefore we need much more efforts to fulfill those tasks.
You also talked about learning state in the context of new state in your book. So, and your more than 100 proposals, wherein you have talked about why state and politics must change. Could you explain it to our viewers? What do you mean by learning state?
the origin of state building is that we have discussed in length a specific issue, and then we found the solution, and the solution has been true and valuable, and we keep to it. But this is not this current situation. Science is very fast in producing new results. There are new methods, and we need to measure all of those new developments, and therefore we should decide faster. But we should know that we sometimes will not find the right answer in the first place, and therefore we need to have culturally the attitude to say, listen, this is trial and error, and therefore we need to learn what we have done wrongly and what we need to change. And that's very core to a modern culture in industries, by the way, too, but it's also in the public sector.
Okay. And what is your opinion about India and its governance and its efficiency as a state?
I'm a beginner in India science, so I'm a little reluctant to give final answers to such a huge country, which is double the size of, or even 3 times the size of Europe. I was very impressed when I lastly visited Delhi, and I'm going to be in India in August again. I do believe, as far as I know, that the Modi government has brought significant improvements in infrastructure, in direct access to the people, giving them direct money access. And so there's impressive progress, but there's a lot of things to do, specifically in the energy consumption, in energy efficiency, renewable energy. So there's a lot of things to do for India, but I'm really impressed about what India has achieved in the last years.
So, may I ask you, are you working with the Indian Parliament to modernize Indian state and to make it more citizen-friendly, to make it more efficient? Do you interact with Indian parliamentarians?
We have interactions. I met some people and we had fruitful discussions, but I wouldn't call it working. Working is more than meeting once in a while and talking. This is valuable because it lifts your horizon and is hopefully for them valuable as well. But I wouldn't say I work on it. Working on it means I bring solutions to India, and that I'm unfortunately unable to promise. I'm too far away from the problems.
So your focus is more on start than on state. Do you think that we need more democratic debate and consensus? And without that, we may not be able to start. You have used the word start in your book.
Yeah, I mean, the original German title is a wordplay between state and start, because as in English, it's pretty similar. It's a very different meaning, but it's a similar word, and therefore, new state is meaning the state needs a new starting moment.
Okay.
It's a restart. Yeah, maybe that's the best translation. What we say is the state needs a restart. Yeah, we need to lay back and watch what we're doing and what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. We don't have to change everything, but a lot, and we need to be aware of it. And it's always dangerous if you think you're there, then you probably you have reached the top and are on your way down. And Germany is endangered to be deindustrialized and to lose its economical position, and therefore we need to change in the private sector, but also in the public sector.
So, if you could enlighten us about the best practices, best modern practices to make state, bureaucracy, politician more accountable, more citizen friendly, and more digitally enabled?
Something like, if I would say, if I have two core messages, then next
Okay.
to the culture I mentioned already, culture of the people, then that the rule of law, which is in practice means you need to have independent pillars in your state. So the judges need to be independent from the legislation and independent from the executive part of your of your public sector. So meaning that no one has the full power. Power is divided, and that's the rule of law. That's the number one. And people can't pay anyone or can influence someone to get a decision. It needs to be very neutral and very objective. That's the number one. And this number two is standardization is absolutely key. In a country of the size of India, it's undoable to have one software solution for whatever purpose. You need to have a multitude of software and solutions. And to be able to interact those solutions, you need to have very strict standards. The internet is nothing else than a standard. You know, everyone who's watching this program watches via a browser, via a computer, and I'm sitting here in Germany, and we produce it in a standardized form. No one has even done anything before that we understand, and that someone can watch me on TV. That's a
Yes.
standard, and the standard makes it possible that everyone talks to everyone, and everyone can have a Zoom meeting or a WebEx meeting or whatever is popular, or Microsoft Teams or whatever is popular in your area. And that means there is a common standard. And we have missed in the public sector to build those standards. And as far as I know, this is a disadvantage in India too, but we Germans are very badly on it. What we can do. There is one positive example in the public sector, and that is mobile phones. You know, you can use any mobile phone with any telecom provider anywhere in the world. And that hasn't been the case. 15 years ago, you went to the US, you need a different mobile phone because it didn't follow the same standard. If you went to Japan, you had a different, again, another phone. So I know
True.
people who had 4 or 5 phones to be able to speak wherever they are in the world. Today we have a standard, and therefore everything works with everything. And this mentioning to say we need digital standards in the public sector, so every part of the federal system is able to communicate with the other one. That's absolutely key.
And if we discuss judicial reforms, how to make justice system more efficient, less costly, and more fast?
I would not. I would not focus on costs in the justice sector. That's a very key
Okay.
learning. You
And
need to
why?
pay them well, because speed and trust in justice is worth a lot. If people trust that they can do things, and that there is an objective way, and if in the administration I do not get the proper decision, which I will follow the rules should be able to, then I can go to court, and I get a very fair, very quick trial. That's absolutely fundamental. And in the 19th century, Germany has been the poorest country in Europe. It became the most richest one. And one of the key elements was that we built a fair justice, independent fair justice, where we invested a lot of money into it. We even call our courts palaces because they look like palaces. They look like there is a king living in it. They're so prestigious in buildings. So it's not cost efficient. It was prestigious in saying, listen, they do have real power, and this power is really independent from all other elements in the state. That's very valuable, and it's one of the success stories of Germany.
Because
So
as they say that judicial reforms are key to uh, new state, making it more vibrant and accountable.
yeah,
So in that context, how can we make judiciary more efficient, accountable, and citizen friendly?
I don't know whether I don't know much about the Indian justice. Is it not
Mm.
people friendly?
But what
I
are
don't
the
know
international
why.
practices?
Pardon me?
What are the international practices?
Yeah,
How
I mean, we have a lack of international
how
justice.
judicial reforms have taken place across the globe?
Um, something like the most relevant reforms is 2,000 years old. The Roman law system has influenced the entire Western world because they have very interesting systems. For example, you have life. You select judges and cannot re-elect them, so they're completely independent. We in Germany select them in a very demanding process, but once you're elected, you're there for a lifetime. And you have your lifetime paid, and no one can and no one can threaten you and saying, the Polish government said, we need a system where we can get rid of some judges because they don't work properly, and this is to a German politician or a German lawyer unthinkable. If you're a judge for forever.
Okay. So, what are the resources needed to make bureaucracy, state, and judiciary more accountable, more efficient, more citizen friendly? What are the resources? What is your opinion on resources?
I think the key resources are the people. I mean, um, in the public sector, you need to have best educated people who work in a good manner and do see that they work for the public service, but for individual interest. That's the absolutely core resource you need, and you need money to pay them well.
An important question I would like to ask you, that how to truly democratize the state and ensure citizen participation in law and policy making. Do you agree that in this digitally connected world, citizens should be allowed to vote on key issues? And do you see this idea feasible to have a constant public opinion on most of the proposed law, budget proposals, and policies?
Um, Sorry, there was an
So I
interruption.
wanted to ask you that my question is focused on public participation in policy making.
Yeah.
So, how to truly democratize the state and ensure public participation, citizens' participation in law and policy making?
Um, I do believe that the best of our system is that we have what as we call a representative system. So people can choose via elections, and they can have really options to vote on, and then they work. And beside that, there is a constant dialogue with the people in many forms via media, but also directly. We have a system that more than 1 million people per year visit our parliament. And given that we're only 80 million people, so over a period of 50 years, every adult has a chance to be in the parliament in person. and to see how it is work. And all those kinds of, there are hundreds of those elements where you have a constant dialogue with your people in general and about every single decision.
Do you think that in present world, state is more, coercive in nature, and it wants to keep citizens subservient to the to the leaders, to the rulers, and there is a very limited accountability? What is your opinion?
I simply don't know whether this is in India the case. I wouldn't call in Germany we do not have those leaders who are not accountable. They would not be re-elected after 4 years. I mean, if you're not accountable, if you just follow someone else's interest, you would not be re-elected. Relatively sure. So therefore, no one, even my competitors from other parties.
No, in general, I'm talking about globally. Globally, what is your observation? Not in a particular, in the context of a particular country. I'm asking you in general. How do you see the world is changing, or the leaders are changing, or the nature of governance is changing?
I mean, if you look for the last 10 years, the result is pretty bad. If you look with a broader horizon, the result is pretty good. What do I mean? We have in Russia a dictator called Putin, who something like has done actions and started a war in the Ukraine, which is all absolutely unlawful and non-accountable. We have a regime in Russia where a few people steal the money from the people and become billionaires.
I want to ask about Europe, particularly, Mr. Thomas Heilmann, that, why is democracy failing even in Europe? Do you see any connection between the failing of democracy and dysfunctional state? What is your take on, Europe?
I would say the long-term democracies in Europe, like England, Switzerland, etc., are not in danger. It's different in East Europe. We do not have a tradition as strong as in the Western part. But even there, I'm generally spoken more optimistic. I would not say that democracy is truly in danger. But there are developments which are worrying. And it's a difficult to answer question. Why is it like that people like Donald Trump or Boris Johnson who do not stop the democracy in their respective countries, but so I come to very extreme positions, and it may that the change of the world has speeded up so much that people become unsatisfied. But I do not have the final answer why those developments, why those polarizations in societies take place.
So thank you for talking to us from Berlin, and for such a detailed conversation with us. And many congratulations for your book, New State, wherein you have given more than 100 proposals on why politics in state must change. Thank you for talking to us, and thank you for being live on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's pleasure, indeed, our pleasure having you on our show.
Pleasure on my side.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So this was a conversation with German Member of Parliament, Mr. Thomas Heilmann. We have talked about his book, new state, wherein he has given more than 100 proposals on how to reimagine the state, how to why state and politics must change, and he has given a very exhaustive, very thought-provoking. He has given quite thought-provoking proposals, more than 100 proposals on what all can be done to um, why politics must change and why state must change, and quite informative and enlightening book he has written. Thank you for watching this program live, and thank you for being with us. Please share our video. And we are live at Facebook. We are live at YouTube, and we also share our videos at Twitter. So do share, do not forget to share, subscribe to our channel, and like our videos. Thank you so much for being with us and being and sharing your comments and writing your comments. I can read all of them, and thank you for being part of this live program. Thank you so much.